Howdy, this is Luis Saldana, 4-H specialist with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service, with a short video for 4-H members on how to score a 3D target using the Texas 4-H Shooting Sports Archery Rules. This scoring system is specifically used for 4-H members in a 4-H archery match. There are other scoring systems, there are other organizations, all of which have their own unique way of scoring 3D targets. So what you've got in front of you is a Delta Mackenzie 3D target. It's actually kind of a neat setup because it's just the torso of a white-tailed deer. It's actually got a nice little stand on it. Sits flat on the counter and even has a little rope at the top so you can carry it around. So we're going to use this for this demonstration. As you can see from the torso, there's several parts of the targeted area that have grooves in them that outline, in this particular case is this outermost, if you will, lung area of the target. Then you have, I'll point out, there's a circle up here in this top left-hand corner. There's a circle kind of in this area here, larger circle, and then you have 3 smaller circles inside that larger circle. So this is really simple. But for those people that have never really participated in the 4-H archery match, specifically the 3D match that we host in December, this is how we score specifically all these different rings that maybe 4-H members might see at the 3D match. Keep in mind that every single 3D target may have a little different setup in terms of the rings than this particular example, and I'll show you another one here in a minute. So let's start with the bigger issue here, which is the animal itself. You can see the brown areas, the torso of the deer, and if you could see the whole animal, you would see the head over on this side and then the rest of the back end of the white-tailed deer on this side, including legs. So for this particular purpose, the part that we're most interested in is this particular area here. So let's start with what we would consider a hit. It is not a score, it is simply a hit. Putting an arrow anywhere on the animal outside of this, which is the very first scoring ring, anywhere outside of that constitutes a hit. However, many of these animals, especially the smaller animals like your raccoon or your armadillo and some of the other 3D targets that may be made by Delta Mackenzie or some of the other manufacturers, may be situated on a rock or may include a stump, a tree stump. And so in this particular case, you see this green part down at the bottom, which is actually intended to be grass. An arrow that lands in any one of this area, the rock, the stump, or the grass, is counted as a miss. Okay, so even if the arrow sticks in this physical target, it is not stuck in the actual animal. So this constitutes a miss, or even if you miss the target completely. If you hit the animal anywhere on the animal's body itself, could include the head, it could include the tail, one of the legs, and it sticks, that is what's constituted as a hit. It is not a numerical score, but it counts as a hit. And I'll show you the scorecard here in a little bit. So we start with a miss, which is completely either off the target or in this particular case in the grass or on a stump or on a rock. That's a miss. Anywhere else on the target outside of this particular ring is a hit. It's not a numerical value, but it is counted and may help an archer in their score at some point, especially if there's a tiebreaker. So let's get to the first scoring ring. The first scoring ring is this large ring here, which we may call the lungs, or represents the lung of the animal. So anywhere inside this ring counts as a 5. So 5 would be anywhere in this area. Minimum score would be in this area would be a 5. Now, one of the interesting things that I'll point out, and this is true not only of the way we score 3D, but how we score, you'll notice there's a 122 centimeter 5-color FIDA target behind, is where that arrow actually ends up. So long as it breaks the plane of the line, it is touching the line or breaks the plane of the line, then that counts. In this particular case, if the arrow were to hit right there, it's breaking the plane of the line, so that would score in the lung area, and that counts as 5 points. So whether it's right on the line or here, anywhere in this particular lung ring, if you will, that counts as 5. So leads question to this ring over here. What is that? For 4-H purposes, that's not a scoring ring. This large area, is lung area, is the scoring ring. If it's here, it's 5. If it's inside that little circle, it's 5. Okay? And if it breaks the plane of the line, then it also counts. In that case, it would count, as a 5 if it broke the plane. So the next ring is the heart ring. That's this ring right here. And generally speaking, when 4-H members are looking at a target, sometimes they're at an unknown distance and they can't really detect exactly where that ring is. One of the good rules of thumb to use is if you follow the front leg from the ground all the way up, generally speaking, right in the center of the body mass here, right at the top of the leg, is where you'll find the heart ring. Okay, so this is a miss, this is a hit, this is a 5. You get inside the heart ring, break the plane, just like on the previous example, or in this ring, that counts as a 10. That's 10 points. Now, you see 3 circles inside the heart ring. For the 4-H archery match, the 3D archery match that we host in particular, we only score the center ring. We call this the X ring. So this X ring would count as 12 points. So you have hit, 5 points, 10 points, and in this ring would be 12 points. Again, if you break the plane, you count up to the X ring, that would be 12 points. If you hit this ring or this ring, that's still within the heart ring, those only count as 10. You get in the X ring, which is generally in the center. If there's 3 like this, it's the one in the center. That would count as a 12. Miss, hit, 5, 10, and 12. So let me show you another target. This one down. Here you have a wild turkey. And the ring is a little bit different. So in this particular case, the large ring represents here. This represents the lungs. So miss, hit, 10, and then here you have one ring with another ring inside of it. So the outer ring, it would be a 10. That would be the heart ring. And then the smaller circle inside, that would be the X ring. That would be 12. One more time. Miss, hit, 5, 10, and 12. So now I'm going to show you the scorecard. Hopefully you can see that. And you don't have to see the whole thing. We'll see if we can zoom in a little bit so you can see. This is the actual scorecard that we use. I'll move it down a little bit. There you go. And so this is a scorecard. This number down here represents the station, the target station, or the individual target. And then you have columns. M for miss, H for hit. Again, neither one of those you get a numerical score for. And then you have a 5, a 10, and a 12. On our scorecard, we actually have a scoring guide here that, again, represents the white ring here, represents kind of the lung area. Well, actually, I take that back. This white ring, a lot of targets have a replaceable core, and so it's important to remember that if they have a replaceable core, that ring, or that seam, if you will, where that core is pulled out of the target, that's not a scoring ring. So you have to look very carefully for the actual ring in this particular case right here, or that represents the lungs. In this case, it's this big blue area. So not hitting the target at all would be a miss. This would be a hit. If this happens to be the replaceable core, so even if you hit inside that ring, that's still considered a hit. Then this blue area on this example, again, would be the lung area. That would count as a 5. This small ring over here, still a 5. Then you have the heart ring, 10. Even the small circles would be 10. And then the one right in the center would be 12. So as you're shooting at that station, let's say you start on station 7, you shoot one arrow and you will mark whether it's a miss, a hit, a 5, a 10, or a 12 by circling that. And that's all there is to it. This particular example, if you look down here at the bottom, you total each one of these columns, and then this kind of helps you calculate your total, and then your total score goes over here on your right. So again, here's a scorecard. Here's your example: heart ring, 10 ring, X ring. On both sides. In this particular example, it's got it there, also has it there. You look at the white-tailed deer, turn it around on the other side, actually set up the same way. This area would be a hit. This area within this ring would be a 5, including that ring. Here's your heart ring, that would be a 10. And then there's your X ring, that would be a 12. Hope this is helpful. We'll do another.